podcast with making stuff and jacked up. Making stuff and jacked up.
So much.
Making stuff and jacked up. Making stuff and jacked up.
Let it go. You say get out of the way.
Jacked up.
Get it
Very much
moving.
music.
Could just eat it. Just put it right on my gums.
So much.
Someone's killing these beats, bro. Trust me.
The time is here now.
You're listening to Meadows and Makers podcast.
With Jack Dub and making stuff. Peace.
Hey, hello everybody, and welcome to another week of the Meadows and Makers podcast. This is my podcast that my main goal here is to spread knowledge about how to live a more resilient lifestyle in our modern age. And so today I was able to line up a really cool guest that I believe we're going to have a really fun conversation here. So if you're hanging around wherever you're at, you'd be hanging around in the Discord here, or if you're on Vim watching, then please chime in if you have any questions. This is a interactive social broadcast, so this is one of the things that kind of helps liven the show up and makes things pretty cool. So yeah, today I got on a guy that's a man after my own heart, a jack of all trades, and kind of does a little bit of everything. And so this should be a fun conversation. And so one thing that I have been working on with the podcast and I've been wanting to do is kind of create a mantra for the show and for a mantra for everybody else to hold in their mind and to be kind of a motivation. So I'm just going to say this up front, and this is the mantra is I will be an inextinguishable light of possibilities for myself and others. And so just carry that through your mind, just to be kind of positive and keep carrying you through and what you got going on. I think Steem and the people here can be great leaders for others and in moving the future in a more positive direction. So I just want to leave that there for you, put that out for you, and have a little mantra for the show. All right. So one thing that I forget to do sometimes is to put out the disclaimer. And so let me go ahead and take care of that. The views and opinions of myself and those of the guests on my show do not reflect on MSP Waves and the interactive social media broadcasts that they have going on here. So I hope we don't have a robot voice space day, so so that's good. All right, so with that, let me kick it off and introduce you guys to Codex, and welcome Codex onto the show. You're free to go ahead and unmute yourself, sir.
Woo! What's up, everybody?
All right, man. All right.
Let me free from my cage. I am unmuted.
All right, man. Yeah. So, yeah, if you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and, how did you come around to this whole Steamiverse thing?
Sure. I don't know who's listening on Vim, but I know most of the people here, at least on Discord, but just give a little background, I suppose. Actually have no fucking clue how I stumbled upon Steam. I don't remember at all. It's been a long time ago, so I'm not sure, but I was really interested in the technology, so started building a few apps and trying to get more in touch with the community because, obviously the idea of decentralized social media is super cool. So was just trying to figure out who to follow and things like that, because as far as decentralized platforms go, Steam's pretty good, but there's always the issue of discovery, right? You can't really make a search, or it's always been a challenge. So started joining the other communities. There was steemit.chat, which I joined, and I think Crimson runs that now, possibly. And then I found the Peace Abundance and Liberty Network and a few others. PAL is the only one that I'm still logged into because it's the coolest.
Right on.
But yeah, and I visit Steam at chat every once in a while also.
Yeah, very cool. So you got into it because because of like the programming and some of that aspect of it, and I saw that you had built a wallet app for Android that you had worked on a while back.
Yeah, definitely. So let me see if I don't even know if it's still.
I just put up one of your past posts about it's called. You've went over to Spark Payments, I guess is what you rebranded it as.
Yeah. So another guy he put out something. So this was called Steam Pay. Yeah, the wallet was called Steam Pay, and this dude put up an exact same thing and he called it Steam Pay. So he kind of was biting my name. Not that it was the most original name in the world.
Yeah.
So I decided rather than fight him on it, I was just going to change my name.
Okay.
And, yeah. So that's kind of what I did there. That's the, there was a couple different facets to this. There was the Steam Pay wallet, and then there was the Steam Pay point of sale. So two different apps. One was for for customers or whatever, and the other merchants. So
right.
The Spark point of sale still lives on, and it's been adapted to a different network.
Okay.
They paid me a lot of money to do so.
But
that's maybe I can't drop links.
Oh yeah, feel free.
So that's what it is now. It's essentially the same thing. It just runs on a Dash instead of Steam. And then the wallet itself, I tried to take off of Google. I don't know if you know this, but once you submit an app to the Google Play Store, you can never remove it.
Really?
Yeah, you can only unpublish it. But
okay.
Other people can still find it. But anyway, like I was telling you before we went live on the air,
yeah,
they had a bunch of Steam had started making a bunch of weird changes, like with resource credit system and a bunch of other random things, and like I wasn't figuring out how to get the information quick enough. So, they would change something, and then 2 weeks later, somebody would would leave me a negative review on Google Play and say, "Oh, this wallet's been broken for 2 weeks," and I'm like, "What the fuck?" So then I start trying to figure out what changed, and then when I finally figure it out, I fix it, and of course the review still stays there, and oh god, it was annoying, and I just couldn't was so frustrated with things changing all the time. And I'm not necessarily in the camp that says the protocol can never change.
Yeah.
But they were changing it like, and I don't know if they still are, but they were changing it every couple weeks on just like complete breaking changes. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? It was starting to get really annoying. So I took a break from that. Gotcha. So yeah, this is a side project. So do you what I was gonna ask is what's your normal thing that you do for a living? So it's a good question. You know, we talked about a lot of stuff before we actually came on live today. So now I'm trying to remember what I've already said and what I haven't. But here we go. But we can go back into it. I mean, you talked about that you went to school for being a machinist. And so, is that something that you're still doing, or did you? As a hobby, yeah. So okay. I don't exactly have like a profession that I'm a master at by any means. But what I do for work right now is I work programming for a company in Laramie, Wyoming. They are funded by the National Science Foundation. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with finite element analysis, but it's essentially an engineering thing where they can they know the properties of a material, so they can simulate how it would act under stress in certain areas with different anchor points and whatnot. It's stress testing software basically. And what these guys have done is developed algorithms for stress testing 3D printed parts. So 3D printing is a little bit different of a beast because you have different layers. It's not a homogeneous material. Exactly. So you might know the exact, structural analysis of the plastic itself, of the polymer, but the layers present a different challenge, as well as like the infill density and or pattern, the temperature you print at, everything makes a difference in the integrity of the part. And so they're able to, they're round, phase one, I don't know what they call it in grant world, but their phase one funding got them to the point where they have developed algorithms and processes by which they can accurately stress test model the 3D prints. Yeah, within within a negligible amount of difference from a normal stress test accuracy level. I don't know. I'm kind of talking out of my ass in a little bit because I don't know exactly what it is that they do, but so they've come up with these algorithms essentially, and what they've hired me to do is now on their phase two, their criteria for fulfilling the grant is to turn it into a product, something that they can either sell and or give away or whatever. So my goal, these algorithms, and create an app to where a user, whether it be commercial or personal or whatever, uploads a 3D model, an STL file, and then places anchor points and places points on which they're bending the material or whatever, and then it will process the model and show a result. Wow, that was a whole fucking mouthful. Oh, well, that's very cool, man. You know what? That's kind of serendipitous. That was my former life, was materials research, and one of my first research projects was to analyze a e-glass composite material and build a better finite element analysis model. And so, yeah, very familiar with that world. That's really cool. I didn't know that they were doing a lot more targeted stuff for that. So that was the previous life I was from. So was that one of like an SBIR grant or something that you guys won? No, I think it's not my company. I don't know. They just hired me to program the app. Okay. So yeah. I don't know exactly. If I go to their website, it might say. I think it's Teton. Oh shit. Yeah. Simulation or something. Okay.
That's very cool. So you could do like different stuff. Look at different materials like PETG and ABS and
yeah. So that's the idea, and then what the app will do is, it can essentially, once it analyzes the part, they have this intelligent slicing algorithm that can output the most optimal print parameters for your part automatically, and import them into Cura or any other slicer.
Based on your like what you want to target for stress design or design for mechanical stresses.
Exactly. So if you say this part's mounted right here and it's receiving stress right here,
right?
These are the settings that I currently use. It'll give you results on that, and then it will say, would you like to optimize? You can say yes, and it will choose the best settings, profile or whatever, slicing profile for your software, and then you can import it that way. So
that would be a massively powerful tool. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what they've been. They've been working on all the algorithms and stuff, and I'm just putting a face on it essentially.
Wow. Very cool.
That's what I do daily. That's what I do. I hate programming all day because I don't like being on the computer all day. I love the computer, and it's part of what I like to do.
Right.
But I'm also very hands-on, so I need to get out and build stuff too. So it's kind of tough balance sometimes, working 30 hours a week on a computer screen, and then
Yeah. Now, do you get to work from home doing that, or do you have to go into an office?
I have an office, but I work from home almost exclusively. I pretty much never go to the office.
Yeah. That's very cool, man. That's you can do all your meetings and stuff through Skype or something.
Yeah, we use Slack and Zoom.
Oh, cool. That's very cool. Yeah, that my last company that I worked with in the corporate world, they had just figured out the Zoom thing where they could do that for free. So yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be starting to do that, but so that's very cool. So programming you were talking about, you kind of picked that up when you were working to learn machining, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. When I was in college for machine tool technology, and I don't remember if I told this story was before we got online, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. We had this stupid slide chart thing that to figure out the right speeds to run the machine and the feed rate at which you input material into the machine, and it would take like 5 or 6 minutes per material or per situation or whatever, and I hated that, and so I knew a little bit of programming, enough to be dangerous, and I decided I was going to try and build an app that would allow me to calculate these things a whole lot faster, and it worked really well. And in fact, like I was telling you,
right,
one of my fellow students that graduated in my class is now the teacher of that program, and they use my app in that class instead of the slide charts.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, so this was you just were self-taught in that then, and just went from there, huh?
Yeah, self-taught programming. Started learning to program when I quit drinking. I needed something to do, especially with my hands, and just to occupy my time and my thoughts.
Yeah.
And so I figured programming. I owned a laptop, so I didn't have to go buy any tools or output any money really. And learning to program is basically free if you're willing to put the time into it. So that's two things that I had, which was time and willingness. So
yeah,
put both those things together, and I learned pretty quickly.
Wow, very cool, man. Yeah, so I'm guessing it was you had a little bit of a partying past then or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar, man. That's kind of a goofball for a long time. I really don't know. I went to school for mechanical engineering, and then I somehow got through that, but yeah, there was a little bit too much partying going on in that time as well. So I hear you.
Yeah, it can be like, I noticed when I quit drinking, I've been so much more productive in just the last couple years, however many years it's been now.
Yeah.
I've done way more than the previous 10 years probably. And part of that is getting older and having more, being able to accomplish other things. But like,
Yeah.
just, I think not drinking is a huge part of it for me personally, but.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's, I used to have a problem with it and had to definitely face that and stop, doing it. I just kept it from, being around me, and that, helped so much. So I witnessed similar things with myself, as more focus and more ability to get things done. So that's kind of, you know, I think it is kind of it's the self work that you got to do. You're drinking for a reason, and then you gotta figure out what that reason is, and then that can help you. That can help you move forward.
It's kind of just one of those things. Like, some people are totally fine. You know, they drink like normal people, and they you know, they're fine. They go to work, they do their things, they don't have a problem. And then there are people like myself who, like, I just don't have an off switch, and so if I start, that was it for the rest of the day. And you know, I just don't have any sense of moderation, and so
right.
You know, and I'm like that with everything, honestly. Like, not just drinking, but most of those things aren't so unhealthy. Like, if I'm like building this chicken coop, I've spent every single day either building or researching or whatever. We got chickens. Like, it's a simple thing, you know, but I have spent so much time. I'm balls deep in chicken information right now.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. So this is your first time for owning chickens, right?
Yeah, first time.
That's cool.
Yeah, Ron, I've been building a chicken coop, man. Like a couple days. Let's see. I got some pictures actually. Hold up.
Yeah, that would be great. That was going to be my question, is like how you designed this thing, and what you eventually went with.
Yeah, so let's see. This is kind of the beginning here. I'm just going to start picture flooding everything.
All right, go for it.
A random picture. I was doing the foundation there.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And let's see.
So you're using concrete cinder blocks?
Yeah, they're pavers, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's just the chickens there. Sorry.
Oh, look at those little guys.
Yeah, little baby chicks. So the dirt underneath is sloped to, you know, front and to the right. I'm Farmer Spencer, Ron. Come on, man. I'm the farmer here. Let's see. So then I filled it with pea gravel so that it had good drainage. Let's see.
Oh.
And then kind of, let's see, this one has got a little bit of the framing.
Oh, wow.
And then I started sheeting the roof yesterday.
Wow.
And got all the chicken string in. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I mean, I've got a little bit more progress, but no more pictures.
Okay. So, are you going to put a little nest box in there somewhere?
Yeah, so on the right side where that's got that raised floor kind of.
Okay, that'll be your little nesting area.
Yep, that'll be enclosed and insulated.
Okay.
And the rest of that's the run, and then I'll fill it with sand as well.
Okay.
I've also got chicken wire, or that's actually hardware cloth, not chicken wire. It's a little more expensive and a little bit more durable, but also runs across the entire bottom of that frame. So in case anything like mice or snakes or something tried to like dig up, or a raccoon or whatever, tried to dig up underneath.
Yeah, you made the nuclear proof chicken coop, man.
Right. I told you, man, when we were at the Tractor Supply or whatever, they for like $600, and they were tiny little flimsy pieces of shit. And I said, I am not building one of those. I'm basically building a shed. You know, like this is like a total miniature building with a foundation and everything.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I actually have a friend of mine, one of my old coworkers. His brother started to build people custom chicken coops for the Urbanite Gardener, and he's made some very elaborate ones that are just like you're saying. They're like $600. They're almost like a small little house.
Yeah. This one's gonna be This one's gonna be pretty neat. But
Very cool.
yeah, I've developed come up with a term for this because our backyard's actually pretty small, but we're gonna do chickens. We're gonna get a goat. We got 2 dogs. We'll have some worms. This is what I call yard steading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was doing. I lived in the city, and I'm just now transitioning to my own little piece of land, like at 4.5 acres out in the county. So I'm going to be able to do some experiments with some buildings and different things. But yeah, I started off in the city and got chickens, and I didn't talk to my neighbors about it really, but the first time my first eggs, I gave them some eggs, and they were totally cool with it. So, but are you in that kind of similar neighborhood? Are you in like a more open subdivision, or are you like more in a city type area?
Well, I live in Wyoming, so there's no real city type areas.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just like a real basic street in a small town. It's not like a subdivision, but it's not really a city either. It's what would be, I guess, considered a city area around here.
But there are no like covenants or restrictions like that at all. Cool. No,
except that we can't have roosters, but that's the whole city. Like anywhere in city limits, you can't have roosters.
Yeah. They're just they're too loud. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But
if we ever want baby chicks, we'll just bring some eggs to this farm out there, and they'll have their roosters, whatever it's called. Not they'll fertilize the eggs for us. So
yeah, if you want to breed them.
Yeah, so, if we ever like that.
Yeah. So do you know what kind of what type of chicken that you got?
Yeah, I got a couple different kinds. So we got, let's see, there's 2 Buff Orpingtons. There's 1 Rock River Red. There's 1 Easter Egger. Let's see, that's 4. And then there's 2 something else I can't remember. Yeah, Ron, I totally just made it up as I went. I literally started this with no plan whatsoever.
Yeah. So did you draw inspiration from other people, or
not really?
Not really.
I just started building.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you said you have a chicken run. Is that going to go around the entire backyard or something?
No. So if you look in that, let's see, that most recent picture that I posted, the bottom one, and if you like click it bigger, you can kind of see the screen around the outside of it.
Yeah.
So that part that's got the elevated floor is actually like the coop, like the part where they sleep and go inside. And then this other part is a run for them. They go underneath the coop and in that little area, and I'll fill that with sand also. But that's just their run for like when the dogs are outside and stuff like that. And then otherwise we'll just let them run around the yard. We have a fenced in yard. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll probably have to clip their wings. I don't know how high they can.
Oh, they will do it, man. Yeah, if you don't clip their wings, they will get up on. They'll fly into trees. I actually used to do that with my chickens. When I'd get home after work, I'd let them out, and they'd run around the yard all evening. And then if I didn't have their coop open, they would go fly up into this bush that's in my carport area. They'd get out of the backyard and fly up in there and just nest up there, because that's what they do in nature. They'll go in at nighttime to avoid predators. Yeah, they'll go roost in the trees. So yeah, they'll fly up higher than you think.
Yeah, that's why we'll probably have to clip their wings and make sure they don't hop out the backyard. But other than that, I mean, by no means do I think this is going to be easy. This is my girlfriend wanted chickens, and so we got the chickens, and I was more excited about building the coop and eating eggs and just learning about chickens. I don't, not that I don't care about chickens, but
yeah,
wasn't like my first goal to get chickens. But now that we've got chickens, I couldn't be happier.
Yeah,
glad we have them. I'm psyched to learn about chickens and build the coop and do all that other stuff.
Yeah, man, you will be completely happy, I think, because they're not that difficult to maintain, and they're like little garbage disposals, and turning that into good compost, or being able to compost things that you need as well. If you have things that you need to mulch or yard waste or anything like that, you can throw in there, and they can help break it down and compost it for you. And then any of your food scraps that you want to get rid of, that you can supplement with their diet. So pretty much anything a human can eat, they can eat. And they're omnivores, so they'll eat meat, they'll eat everything.
Yeah, I've heard. In fact, they will even eat chicken.
They will. So that's one thing that you just got to watch out for, is that
I won't feed them chicken, but
yeah. In fact, if one of them gets hurt or something like that, they do have the pecking order. They will attack that chicken, so and they'll kill it. And it's just like something with their genetics, I guess, to keep like a strong gene pool or something. But you have to separate that chicken into you have to segregate them from the rest of them until they heal, and then you can reintroduce them. But that's something to watch out for. That's something I came across as well. That was a hard lesson.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
See, Ron is talking shit on my chicken coop in here.
Yeah, one of the things that I found out in having the backyard is like, so when they're concentrated in one area, the coop is, the smell starts you start getting a smell and everything. So that's why I built mine as like a tractor, so I could kind of move them around, and that their waste wouldn't all get concentrated in one area. So with the pea gravel thing, that might help a little bit, but you might have to deal with that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to put good drainage down there and whatnot, so
yeah,
we'll see. It should be good. That bottom frame is all ground contact, pressure treated lumber, and then the 2x4s do kind of touch down there, but they'll all get painted and everything anyway. So
very cool. Yeah, very cool, man. So are you planning to like? So you said you just bought this house, right?
Yeah, we bought it in like October or something.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, so do you have a pretty good sized backyard?
No, it's tiny. I mean, it's all right. It's not big, but it's big enough. Actually, we could probably figure out exactly when I bought this house if we go on my Steemit profile and see when I cashed out all my Steam, because that's when it happened.
Yeah. Wow. So, so you had Rondon was saying that you had a show on MSP a while back.
Yep, we did. I did this is a hip hop show basically.
Okay. Yeah, so that's something else that you do, right? You also do some music.
Yeah, music is a thing that I do. It's plays on this thing. I don't know how often it plays. Every time I show up, it plays, and I feel like Ron has something to do with that.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, either it plays all the time, or Rondon is a wizard.
Well, Swoop put the Steam mix together, and so he's got all those. But yeah, Rondon probably has the ultimate control over the Steam mix, I guess. Possibly. He's got the back end on it.
Yeah, I have no idea. Somebody's in here purposely playing songs when I'm around.
Yeah. So do you what type of music do you make? What kind of music do you create?
It's hip hop music.
Okay, very cool.
Sounds goofy when I say that, because people are always like, "Oh man, this white dude raps." I've heard a couple of those, but it's not exactly like that. So
Yeah, man, I'm totally like one of my favorite bands lately has been Run the Jewels, and I'm a big fan of that. But
Oh yeah.
the thing I love about hip hop is like it's powerful poetry, or it's powerful spoken word, especially with the people that do it right. In my opinion, you're voicing your opinion in a powerful way.
Yeah, agreed, man. It's not something I do a lot of anymore. Like I make a lot of hip hop music just because I don't have time.
Yeah,
And like I'm almost 32, so
yeah,
not 32. I'm almost 30 also.
yeah.
Yeah, I just turned 29 March 25th.
Oh, okay, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, about the same
Yeah.
age.
Yeah, 29 was like I was like no, not 29 cuz that's like almost, I probably won't handle 32 well because I don't want to be 30, but
Yeah, yeah. After that point, it just becomes a number. You're just like, well,
well then you're waiting for 50 probably.
you're just like, whatever. I got a birthday. Let's not even do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of forget about the birthdays now. It's just like, keep going. But you're only as old as you feel, so I like to maintain that. I feel like I'm still in my 20s, so.
Yeah, I do too. And a lot of people say that between like 30 and 50 is the best time of your life because you're financially stable finally, and you've got like
Yeah.
I don't know. People say a lot of shit to make you feel better, so we'll see.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no. Well, the thing that happens is that people just don't realize your old Saturday Night Live references and stuff, and then it becomes frustrating when you're trying to do the your inside jokes. I used to work in a research lab with some of the younger guys in college, and I'd spit those out, and they'd be looking at me like, "You're such a weird dude."
I have experienced that for a long time actually because I have 3 older brothers. So like when the PlayStation 2 came out, I was still playing Sega.
Yeah.
And so like I don't know, my whole childhood was like already like several years behind.
Yeah.
And so I was like yeah, I'll be making references to Sonic and shit, and people are like, "What?"
We moved past that a long time ago.
Yeah. So now, I mean, even now it's even worse. There's kids nowadays that don't even know like that cell phones didn't exist. Like my niece, she just got a cell phone and she's 12, and I'm like,
oh wow.
I'm like, I didn't get a cell phone till I was 18. And she's like, your parents weren't worried about where you were at? I'm like, no, they weren't invented until I was
yeah, man.
like, yep. I mean, they were invented, but they weren't like, smartphones definitely weren't invented until I was like 17.
Yeah. And they were pretty expensive too.
Yeah. They were really expensive. It wasn't like every kid gets an iPhone.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that was same story all through college. College was when I first got my first cell phone, and it was one of those flip track phone things. And I pretty much, just loaded minutes on it so that I could text people and figure out where the study group was.
Right. It's so funny. Like, there's kids these days that don't know that you had to pay for long distance minutes, or
Yeah.
or I couldn't call. I had to call my friend's house, and if he wasn't there, I had to call back later.
Yep.
Like, now kids are like, I called you twice and you didn't answer. You're like, I was gone to the store for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? I'll be right back.
Yeah. I guess it's different for guys too. My parents, they didn't really care what I was doing. They were just like, "Don't die."
Yeah, mine too. But yeah, I mean, it's like I used to lie to my parents about where I was at. When I was a kid, I was like,
right.
"Oh yeah, we're going to Vince's house and we're gonna stay the night there." She's like, "Okay, call me when you get there." So we'd go to his house. I'd call her and be like, "Okay, we're here." She's like, "Okay, good, goodbye, good night." I'd hang up the phone and we'd go somewhere else and tell Vince's mom we were going to my house. And then you can't do that with cell phones anymore.
Right. I know. Yeah, they got you GPS tracked and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Ron says nobody could call him because he was on the internet. Same shit. Like, I remember my mom yelling down the hallway.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Off the internet. I'm trying to make a phone call. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. And nowadays,
Old dial
you
up.
can be on the phone and the internet on the same device, not just at the same time. I can use my cell phone, be on a phone call, and then at the same time have the phone on speaker and be looking up something on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So not just at the same time, but also on the same device.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people that talk about how this has affected our society and kids especially, because there's not as much of a connection between people anymore. And I remember when I was growing up, I think probably one of the big things was that we used to go and do we used to just do pickup like football games and things like that. And
right. Oh yeah, for sure.
And that helps you kind of get to know a lot of people and be more social, I guess. I find it actually with some of my brother's friends. He's a few years younger than me, and some of them have a difficulty looking you in the eye when they're talking. And that's like something that I'm like, I had to coach my one of my brother's friends. He became my roommate for a little while, and I had to coach him on that and said, it helps if you look people in the eye and, when you shake their hand or whatever, because like, if you don't, it's like kind of shifty.
Yeah. And I think with every like world changing technology, like computers or the internet, there's always this generational gap, right? And then there's, depending on how long it takes to come into play, sometimes we see a really interesting dynamic. Like right now, the generations before us, like my parents, they were all analog. And now that they're old, they're thrust into this digital age where they got to figure out technology and they hate it.
Right.
Then the younger generations, like younger than us, they were born into this world where technology exists and they have no clue about analog shit at all.
Right.
Whereas like you and I, like our generation, we got the best of both worlds. We had analog shit when we were a kid, and by the time we grew up, we had technology. It was there.
Right.
And we're comfortable with using it because we were there, in the beginning. And
right.
So we kind of grew along with the technology. So we're really lucky in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting. Like I work at this bar every once in a while. I used to work there full time, but now that I do this programming thing, I don't have a whole lot of time. But every once in a while when they need help, I go out there and work. But 2 summers ago, I was out there and the credit card machines went down, like all the internet or whatever.
Right.
And I knew that underneath the bar, there was this imprint machine, like the old way they used to process credit cards.
Yeah.
And my mom owns a clothing store, and I worked for her since I was, like 8. And that's how we used to process credit cards. So I remember doing it that way. So I pull out this machine, and I start processing credit cards, like with this imprint machine.
Yeah.
And everyone that works there pretty much is younger than me, including my manager. And they were all like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? You're going to turn down a sale because they have a credit card? I mean, we have this machine that processes credit cards." They're like, "How can it process a credit card? It's not hooked to anything." I'm like, "It doesn't. You're taking a copy of it, and then when it comes back online, you process the card, and then you staple this to the receipt so that the Visa or whoever, the bank, knows that the card was present at the time of sale."
Yeah.
I'm like, "This is how they did it before the internet." And they were like, "What? How do you know this?" And I'm like, "This is not that difficult of a concept." But apparently, it really is a difficult concept for some people.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I can't remember what it was, but I think they did a study on the America's resiliency, and it was something like they predicted that if there was an electrical knockout, that it would it would wipe out like 90% of the population or something. Right,
be crippled, would be so stuck on it. And like I'm pretty reliant on technology myself, being as what I do, my job is completely digital.
Yeah.
Even the people I work with don't even live in the same area as me. So yeah, that's a pretty devastating thing. But also at the same time, I know how to live without it. Not that I want to, but I know how to.
Right.
And I don't mind, going a couple days without the internet or whatever. I mean, I can always go outside and build shit. That don't bother me at all.
Right. Yeah.
I would hate living without YouTube though. Man, I don't need YouTube, but I love you.
I feel you on that one, man. It's like I'm constantly trying to teach myself stuff on there, and the other.
Do you remember life before YouTube?
No.
I do, but it was so difficult. When I was like when I was 8, when I was turning 8, or maybe I was turning 9, I don't know. It was one of those, but it was my birthday, and I wanted a computer so bad. And matter of fact, I was 8 because it was Windows 98, and I think I was turning 9. So Windows 98 was out. I wanted a computer so bad, and my parents were not about to buy me a computer,
Yeah.
So I mean, I begged and begged and begged, and like on my birthday, this box shows up, and I'm just like, oh my God, it has to be a computer. And so I opened it, and like, I'm like, oh my God, it's a computer. But it wasn't really a computer. It was computer parts, like a whole bunch of parts. It was a case, it was a motherboard, a CPU, RAM. It was all the parts, and I had to put it all together. Now, this was before YouTube, mind you. And so
you had to actually ask people questions.
Yeah. My dad was like, okay, if you want this computer, you have to put it together, and I will not help you. And I was like, okay. So I was actually pretty pissed off.
Yeah.
I was like, why in the fuck would you do that? Except I didn't. I was 9.
Yeah.
But I remember just being like so mad about it. And like I said, it was before YouTube. So I was in there, like, I was reading manuals. The manual that came with the CPU had instructions on how to mount it to the motherboard. So I'm sitting there reading manuals, and I could get on the internet and I could type in like installing RAM and a mother,
Yeah.
and it come with the same quality of results that we have now, and definitely no videos. And so I remember like having to go through that process. It took me like 4 months to put this computer together. And when I finally got it together, there was no operating system.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, what do I do now? Because
Right.
when you turn it on, it says no operating system found. So I'm like, I don't even know what that is, right? So I'm like, Dad, you didn't get me an operating system.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, figure it out. So I'm like, what the fuck is an operating system? So I had to get on Yahoo, and I type in operating system, and then like remember, I don't know how many results down, but one of the results said, free open source operating system. All I saw was free, and I'm like, perfect. And it was Linux. It was Slackware, actually. And this was at the point where they would send you, because the downloads were huge, so they would send you CDs for free.
Right.
You just had to pay the postage. So it was like, I mailed them like a money order for like 40 cents or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and then they sent me a Slackware CD I installed onto this computer. So it overall took me like 6 months to get this computer up and running.
Right.
And this was before YouTube. So if I'd had YouTube, man, I'd have done it in 24 hours.
Yeah. Gives you a good appreciation for it now, and I'm sure your dad was probably had a good lesson in mind when he was like, he did. He was like, this guy is gonna really be an expert once he gets this done.
Yeah, and truthfully, that set me on a course. Like I have been interested in computers ever since, and now I program professionally for a living. So I mean, it obviously had some effect.
Yeah, no kidding. That's one of those things that I remember reading was it was about this dad that he instead of giving his kids a car, he had them go find like a beater car or something like that and just fix it
up.
Yeah, and that was the only way that they could have a car was if they fixed it up, and he'd help them with it, but they had to fix it up to have a vehicle. So Yeah, you gain a whole new appreciation for things when you have to go through that. Yeah.
Agreed. And not even that, like bigger picture, you know, not just in the world of computers, but now I'm not afraid to jump into something if I don't know how it works. I'm not afraid to jump into it and try and figure it out. Like,
right.
Even though that was the case, and it was a computer in that situation, you know, that same feeling of confidence translates throughout, like, you know, building the chicken coop. I had no plan or anything, and this may not be the best chicken coop in the world, but it's gonna hold some chickens. And so,
right,
when you have to just figure some shit out, some people are really scared to do that.
Yeah. Personally, in my life, I know that, you know, for a very long time, I would want to do things like perfectly, essentially, and it kind of kept me from getting started on things. But I've always been a hands-on kind of person, so I like to tinker around with things and mess around with stuff. But eventually, once I figured out that it doesn't have to be perfect, it just gets started. That's half the battle, is just getting started with something. And so that's the big thing for people that want to get into something new, is to just leave that fear behind of trying to make it as best it can be, and just get started. And you learn along the way. It's the growth mindset.
Oh, always, yeah. It's that problem solving and growth mindset. 100%, man. It makes a big difference in a person's, not only their motivations and drive, but their ability in general. Because sometimes you can do a lot more than you think you can do, and so sometimes if you just jump in and try it, you'd be really surprised with yourself. And a lot of people won't do that. I'm looking at Ron.
Yeah.
Man, I do need some framing advice.
Oh, yeah.
Ron, is that your house, bro?
Yeah. Yeah, Ron's been doing this stuff for a long time. He's an electrician and
I thought he was an electrician. I didn't know he was a fucking general contractor over here.
Dude does a lot of stuff. He's another jack of all trades guy. Yeah. So yeah. So we kind of turned into a little bit of a South Park member episode here. If you guys joined us, we've been talking about the changes in technology and everything like that. So that's one of the things that it really excites me, though, is that we have all this neat technology that can help us build really cool neat things. And so that was one of the things that, you know, we were talking a little bit about before the show, was kind of this concept of collaborating on maybe something where it's an honor box for a trading post for homesteaders. And so the idea is that you have a like a plexiglass series of boxes that you can put things in, it'd be like a vending machine with individual boxes. And then you have like a solenoid that's connected to each one, and you connect that to like a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino or something like that. And so you could send payments like your cryptocurrencies, and then be able to unlock the specific box and do something like that. So maybe we can collaborate on something like that.
Yeah. I think I'm super into that idea, actually. Like I said, I think I would use that quite a bit. And I live in a town that is just small enough where something like that would really catch on.
Yeah.
But it's just large enough so where it's also useful.
Yeah. We'll have to chat and maybe collaborate on something like that. So, you also have a 3D printer, right? You also do some of that.
Yeah. I have one 3D printer now. So I built a Prusa Mendel printer from a kit long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time. And I got rid of it, and then I built an Ultimaker from scratch, but I obviously using their design files and everything. When Ultimaker first came out, and I sold that, and then I just recently bought that Creality, and I did a whole bunch of work to it. Now it prints really well.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it printed like shit when I got it. It was so bad. But now it prints really well, and I've begun building another one from scratch. My own design this time.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you, what you thought about that Creality one, because they're about $200, right?
Yeah, I bought that with my credit card points, and when I got it, so it's not that it printed really bad. It's just that it printed bad, but because the bed was warped as fuck, like, I don't even know how to explain how warped it was. I could, actually, I think, hold on, side note, Patient Zero, I don't have YouTube ads because I pay them money.
Yeah.
But I could uBlock, but I also get YouTube Music for free, and well, not free, I pay for it, but YouTube Music and original content as well.
I used to do that because I had the Google Music subscription or something like that, but it gave me YouTube Red at one point in time. But after I learned about the YouTube censorship and all that stuff, I decided to cut my ties with them as a company. I did love it. I have to admit, because I'm a big music fan. I love to have like all the access to all the music and all, and the YouTube Red with the no ads and all that stuff is pretty nice.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. YouTube Music is the best music service I've ever used. Better than Spotify, Pandora, anything. It always knows what I want to listen to, and you think like Pandora's supposed to know what you want to listen to, and like it was kind of the first like algorithm whatever music service, and based on the Music Genome Project, and so it was supposed to be pretty accurate, and it always got pretty close. But like YouTube Music is fucking on point. It's really good.
Yeah, so you're able to do streaming. It doesn't pull up the music video or anything. It just streams the music then, huh?
Yeah, it just streams the music, and if it doesn't have the actual music, it does it'll do the video version.
Oh,
so
okay.
Pretty much everything is on there, which is the other thing that I really liked about it, was that, sometimes you can't find something on Spotify, or you're like, oh, this song isn't on Spotify or Pandora or whatever, but it's always on YouTube.
Yeah. Whoa. So I see your bed that you posted here. So that is messed up, man. Was that just a fail in shipping, I guess, or?
I have no idea, but as I started to research it more and more, I found out that a ton of people have the same problem with this bed. So you can see in that first picture, it's sitting on a surface plate, and I was grinding it flat, and so all the parts that are scratched are the parts that are touching the surface plate, and the part near the middle that looks like that weird funky shape was not touching the surface plate at all. So there was a huge dip right there, and
that's not good for 3D printing now.
No, not at all. That's like one of the most important pieces.
Yep.
And so the second picture is further along. Further along, and it's just that dip in the center now. But anyway, I completely flattened it, and then I trying to find a couple more pictures. I flattened that out, and then I designed a new bracket because they are doing 4-point leveling, which I hate because 3 points make a plane.
Right.
And so I designed this bracket. The black one is the one that came with it. It has the 4 points. Yeah. And then the bottom one, my friend cut out on a water jet at his work for me. And
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so I drew that up in SolidWorks, and it's got this kind of see on the left side where it's got that one dot in the middle.
Yep.
So I got on the right side, those 2 points, and then the 1 point in the middle, and then this little strip is the adapter plate. So now my bed levels on 3 points.
Super rigid too.
Yep, and it's super rigid. And then I upgraded the extruder. I threw one of these on. which is the BL Touch for those that are not in the Discord chat. It's an auto leveling sensor. It has like a probe that sticks out on a little servo and pulls back in.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and so it does mesh bed leveling. So even though the bed is pretty much perfectly flat at this point, it still goes through and probes 25 different points on the bed in the square.
Okay.
And then it compensates for any differences between those points with the Z-axis automatically.
Oh, so it'll communicate with the 3D printers to actually adjust the Z-axis for you?
Yep. So like if the bed had a big dip in the bottom,
okay,
the Z would actually go down at that part of the bed and then come back up where it's higher.
Very cool. Wow.
So it'll do that for the first couple layers until it creates a flat layer, and then it'll just continue to print flat.
So will that integrate with any of the control hardware for most 3D printers?
Yeah. Essentially, it replaces the Z M-stop micro switch. So
okay,
the cool thing about it is, like, I have different bed platforms, like in that picture that I just posted where it's printing that Glock lower.
Nice.
It's on a glass bed, but I also have a PEI sheet and a couple other different things. Whereas on a normal 3D printer, you would have to re-level the bed if you changed to a bed that has a different thickness.
Yeah.
But this BL Touch, this mesh bed leveler, it touches off automatically, so I can change the bed size and never have to re-level.
Wow, that's so cool. I need to get me one of those. I got similar story. I put together a RepRap Prusa i3, and that was a DIY kit, but definitely need to do some upgrades. I would love to do a plate like you're doing right there, because that is one of the problems, is that the plastic, it was sent as a piece of like polycarb plastic was the bottom piece, and that's what is difficult, is that you do need something that's really rigid so that it's not going to change on you as the print happens. So
right, so you don't want it to flex on you.
Yeah, exactly. So man, I'm interested in that little base there. That's cool. So beautiful. You're printing off Glock lower. What kind of plastic were you using for that?
So this design has been sim tested first with PLA and 100% infill, and no signs of stress. It's been reinforced. It's been reinforced in the areas where stress has been shown. So and then been live tested for like over 600 rounds so far, no problems.
Wow.
And it's just regular PLA.
Wow, no kidding, man.
Yeah.
That is great. That is so cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking that you use something a little bit stronger, like PETG or ABS or something.
I have PETG, and tested with PETG as well, and it doesn't seem to be a problem either. I mean, they both work the same.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So you just could order the upper equipment and everything, and you're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, there's one more thing you need to do, because there's no plastic rails didn't work so well. So there's one more thing that you need to do, and it is to manufacture the rail block out of a piece of aluminum, and it's super easy to do. In fact, I don't know if I should upload it here, but I definitely can.
Wow. Yeah. So are you a fan of Cody Wilson?
I mean, of his work for sure. I don't know recently about some weird charges that he's been allegedly. Right.
Yeah, I think they might have pinned that on him, man. I don't know the full story, but I do believe in the ethos that he has, is that you're not going to be able to stop the signal. You can't stop people from building these things.
Agreed. I mean, look how easy that was to just send this out.
Yeah. That is awesome, dude.
So that's a PDF of the rail, the front rail, and it's just a super simple block, and it drops in to
your printed lower.
Yep, to the printed frame, and then the upper just slides on.
That's so cool. So cool, man.
Agreed, Ron. They do seem a bit suspicious. I just wanted to make clear that I don't condone that behavior, regardless of innocent or guilty. It seems suspicious as fuck, to be honest.
Yeah, I in one of his interviews, he said, or in the past, I was reading that he was like, I am super careful with what I do, but nothing's gonna stop the government if they really want to tackle me. And so yeah, I think it might be one of those things. And so pretty much the government has been trying to squelch anybody that is trying to push things in a more positive direction. I think, they got Ross Ulbricht locked up for creating a website. And
double life sentence plus 40 years. That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm a big advocate for freeing Ross Ulbricht and people looking into his case and educating themselves about that. And there is a petition that people can sign, freeross.org, and you can sign that petition to ask for clemency for Ross Ulbricht to get him out of jail, because it's just ridiculous what happened to him. And there's more examples of those guys. Like Schaefer Cox is another one, who is serving time in a controlled media unit in like Terre Haute, Indiana, which is like a prison within a prison. And they pinned him for actually calling out some drug trafficking and sex trafficking of children in Alaska. And so I encourage other people to look into his case too. But yeah, things are happening with technology, and that's one of the big I'm a big advocate for, is people to start to understand and spread the knowledge about the use of our current technology, because I believe it is a key of our liberty, is being more resilient and understanding these technologies to be more self-reliant and resilient.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a big thing. Like when this is like, I feel like this is Rondon show all of a sudden.
It kind of bleeds in and out on my show. Yeah.
I was gonna say, when the forefathers wrote the Constitution, they had just left a situation, and they knew that you cannot change these laws. These are inalienable rights,
right?
Because these are so important to control overgrowth of governments and things like that. And so when people want to impede on the right to bear arms, and it's like, it says shall not be infringed for a reason. And
right,
it's a pretty important one. And I get it. People are like, oh, well, what good would your AR-15 do against the government now? And it's like, well, I mean, work for the Bundys. So
right,
that's a modern example. But regardless of whether it would or not, don't I have the right to feel safe about it? And it's like, I mean,
right,
I get it. They're scared. I get it. But just because that they've never shot a gun and they don't know how they work and they're scared doesn't mean that I should be scared, because I know how they work and I'm safe with mine.
Yeah, yes, it's it is important. And one of the things that really woke me up when I was younger, worked at an auto parts store. Got held at gunpoint a couple times, and from that day forward, understood that when you call the police, they're not going to be there on time or anything. Ultimately, it is your responsibility for your own protection.
Sure. And if that were to happen, if you were to be robbed at gunpoint and you managed to call the police and then you got shot and killed, the police may or may not even give a statement. But if they did give a public statement, they would say, oh, it's tragic and unfortunate, but ultimately they wouldn't take responsibility and say, oh, you know what, that's our fault. Because it's not their responsibility. And they know that.
Right. And alternatively, if you wanted some kind of, ultimate guarantee on your protection, it would be something like Minority Report, where you have pre-crime. And so,
right.
You would have
That's
to
kind
be
of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
In a way. I mean, they're trying to change laws based on things that haven't happened. Like, oh no, we need to ban 3D printed guns because what if somebody makes one and kills somebody with it? It's like, but nobody ever has.
Yeah. It's kind of a facepalm moment, and so it's just that I believe we kind of exist in a time right now where people have to make that decision, and you either want to live in freedom, which is claiming personal responsibility for everything, for all your actions, or you abdicate that over to somebody else. But that world is tyranny. It is complete tyranny.
It's sketchy for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I'm always surprised that like at this point in time, like 10 years ago, no political candidate would have ever thought to use the word socialism and survive their political career. And now people openly talk about it like it's something that they want. Like there are people advocating for socialism. Like what? Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
yeah.
I mean, sorry if anybody out there in Vim or in the chat room wants socialism. I'm sorry. I don't agree with you, and that's okay. We can still be friends.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't agree with you. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's something that I run into with a lot of the, my friend groups, and a lot of times it's just like people have all these ideas, and oftentimes I get in their face about it, and I've kind of lost some of those friendships, but still people kind of come to me a little bit over time, and after they've kind of looked into some things and they start asking me more questions. And so the conversation starts again. But I think a lot of people are actually waking up to the fact that they've been hoodwinked on a lot of these things. So,
yeah, I think it's weird how we never hold any politician's feet to the fire. Like, essentially, we should go, hey, you promised this, you did this. What are the repercussions? Nothing ever happens. We have senators in Wyoming who promise all types of stuff. Then they lie and they don't do it, and then they get reelected. I don't understand.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and with the thing that is empowering with our technology now is that we can do live streaming and go to these council meetings and everything like that, and also get into these guys' faces. I kind of got up a little bit of courage a year ago. I was actually thinking about running for a local city council position. But ended up kind of backing out on that because I kind of, I realized that that's not where I want to focus my efforts. I'd really like to be able to empower people with technology and moving into their self-reliance is what I believe will actually change things in a different direction. But yeah, you look at these city council meetings and you can go up there and actually get in these guys' faces about things and ask them, ask them questions. And there's a lot of things that I learned by going there with insider deals, especially with, the construction companies and developers in town that have special deals with the mayor and other people on the council. But it's good to get in their face about these things, and that's all within our own power now. And I think we have a lot better ability to hold these people accountable now, and to kind of publicly shame them is what I would say.
Yeah. I mean, the internet and everything kind of gives you that voice, right? I mean, things can go viral pretty quick.
Yeah. So, I think that's really all it'll take is to just maybe get some more people involved in your local community and show up to those council meetings and just bring up issues here and there. And that's really how, you could get kind of marginalized as that kind of a crazy dude or whatever, speaking his mind. But I think it's important to actually get in their face, because like you said, if there's no pushback, then the things just kind of continue to go down a bad course.
Yeah, we just got one of my friends elected to city council. In fact, he's younger than me. He's 27 years old, and just got him elected to city council, and he's been out there shaking shit up, which I really like.
Really?
Yep. Like
That's
I said,
awesome.
we live in our town's a cool size because it's small enough where we can have an impact, but it's large enough that it's not just 4 people in a room circle jerking.
Yeah, amen. That's good. That's really good, man. So what did you guys do with your campaign? Did you guys just go around on the street or
Yep. He went to every city council meeting, every single one, and always asked questions.
yeah.
Not a big part of it because the people that are voting for city council are the people that go to those meetings because they're the people that care
Yeah.
about what goes on. The other people in town that don't go to city council meetings don't really give a shit. But also, yeah, we did some signs door to door. He did interviews on the radio, kind of talked about his positions and stuff like that. And then and yeah, it was cool. And I worked out at this private golf club
Okay.
at the time, and so everybody who has any money is a member out there.
Yeah.
And so they would go out there, and I was always talking their ear about him, and so
Okay.
I think that helped a lot as well. So yeah, I mean,
Awesome.
he just got elected this last term. Super important. I feel like it
Yeah.
might only be a city council position, and it might
No,
only be
there
one.
there
many,
is there it actually like the big thing, and one of the reasons that I was kind of interested in it is that you get a voice in the local government. So
Right.
and people tend to actually listen to those people that are up there on the city council for some reason because they think they are maybe a little bit more important or something.
Right. I don't know how it works, but yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I liked it. And the cool part, I went to the Libertarian National Convention this year. They had a lot of little workshops about that and getting into the local government. And one of a lot of them were saying like even if you can get involved with planning commissions is something that's really helpful because you can help steer those zoning codes and help them from getting too ridiculous.
Oh, and they do too, huh? They always get ridiculous. They got to keep themselves in a job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that was one of the things that that I was researching in that process was I read a book called The Best Laid Plans by Randall O'Toole, and he lives up in Portland, and he was involved in their planning commissions for a little while, and he started to see how the zoning laws will really turn your city into like a kind of a communist planned city, and how detrimental that can be to especially raising the cost of housing and just making kind of a mess and crappy looking buildings and stuff like that, because the city often subsidizes developers and for projects that aren't very demanded in the market. So for a city to be able to plan everything out for the next 5 to 10 years, nobody knows what the world is going to look like in 10 years. You know, we could have hovercraft and not even use roads anymore. So, you know, what these guys are planning.
Possibility.
Right. So, you know, what these guys plan out in these cities is totally irrelevant in the next 10 years. And it's just a giant waste of money.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good argument if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. So if your buddy in city council, I'd recommend him reading that book for sure.
So I'm going to randomly kind of switch things up a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm kind of curious on some of the things he's doing because I haven't got to tune into the show, as you know, because I was supposed to be on here maybe 2 Saturdays ago, and
right.
have been busy every time, so I haven't got to tune in. So I kind of like want an update if you don't mind.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So what I'm big into, and the whole purpose of the show is to spread self-reliance. And the big thing that I do is I have left my corporate 9-to-5 job, and I am transitioning to go live on a 4.5 acre piece of property full time. And right now I'm just in the process of getting my house sold in the city, and I was a urban gardener homesteader type. And yeah, my background's in mechanical engineering, and this is just something I created a vision for a long time ago. And figuring out how I could rapidly homestead a piece of property, I came up with this concept for I've done a crowdfunding campaign on Fundition.io for the project that I call the Surthrival Trailer. And so I've outfitted this trailer with like 1.98 kilowatts of solar panels and battery system, and it's all EMP hardened. And then it's going to have an onboard aquaponics system that can help seed other aquaponics systems with fish. And also,
what type of fish?
Tilapia, Nile tilapia.
Perfect. Yep. Tilapia is a great fish to farm.
It is. They're the OGs of aquaponics because they're really resilient. They can handle big.
I've heard that so many times. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I just started one. It's called the Tinker Tribe, and so I've been documenting some of this, and I'm going to be pretty much vlogging about this entire journey about moving from the city out to my land, and you know, I've been slowly teaching myself how to do video editing and all this stuff, and doing that. And my vision is to turn this property into a place where I can host workshops and teach other people things about, you know, 3D printing, you know, homesteading, you know, self-reliance skills.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And which is all shit that I'm totally into. This is a random as fuck, but I just watched a YouTube video like probably a week or 2 weeks ago about tilapia being in cold water, and this dude said the exact same thing. That he said tilapia are the OG of the fish world because they're so resilient.
Yeah,
and
it's probably Brooklyn St. Michael. He's the aquaponics god. I've been following him on YouTube for a little while. Yeah, he's a brilliant guy. I've learned so much from him. And actually, the guest, one of the audience members, Robbie Olson here, he's been my mentor. Actually, he is an aquaponics guru himself. He's self-taught him everything because he got so frustrated on finding a lack of information on aquaponics that he did a lot of the fundamental research into the biology of the systems and the chemistry and everything. And so he's passed on a lot of that knowledge himself to me. So he's taught me a lot. And that's actually, we're going to be working in, I'm going to be closer to where he lives and probably be working in collaboration on how to get his aquaponics stuff off grid and on solar power and all that stuff. And he's looking to do something more industrial scale and also be able to teach and do workshops too. So yeah, aquaponics is a lot of fun, but it is a thinking man's like way of farming. But I believe it can be it's probably one of the healthiest ways and the healthiest foods that you can produce is through aquaponics.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's really cool because it's kind of it's really close to a closed system. And then you start adding in, like, if you have an aquaponics system and a worm farm,
yeah,
totally closed system, because you feed the worms to the fish feed the plants feed you use the scraps to feed the worms. It's like, crazy.
Yeah, that's one thing that I want to try to figure out is that is one of the main holdups in aquaponics is your food supply. So yeah, if you had a large enough worm farm, you may be able to supplement most of the fish's diet just based off the worms, possibly.
Tilapia love worms too.
Yeah, they eat everything. They're actually omnivorous, so they will eat. They'll eat plants and they'll eat protein from worms and stuff like that. So
yeah. So if you could feed them worms, and then after you eat, you throw your scraps into the worm bin, bro. You'd have to figure out the ratios, like how much extra food do you grow to feed the worms?
Right. So, yeah, that is one of the big issues with aquaponics right now. And if it can be figured out, then you have a very resilient system because you don't need any external inputs, and
Right.
you can do everything locally. The big linchpin with aquaponics is your power system. And so if your grid gets knocked out, then you could totally lose the entire system if you don't have those pumps running. So
Are there no passive aquaponic systems? I realize the water's got to be circulated.
correct.
But is
yeah.
there's no mechanical pumps or something? I'm sure there's a passive aquaponic system. Maybe not.
So probably the only way to do this is, or the best way would be to do some kind of mechanical windmill pumping system.
Or even have you ever heard of a water battery?
No.
So what it does is it's more of like a energy storage kind of thing, but essentially I'm trying to think of how this works. I better Google this before I sound like an idiot.
Yeah, I'm recording the show, so it will be put up in perpetuity. So
yeah, I better look this shit up real quick. Somehow, okay,
All right.
I'll kind of explain it, and then I'll try and look up details as I'm talking right now. But
all right.
how it works is, I believe, is that you it's kind of like, imagine a water tank up on a hill with a tube that goes downhill to another tank, maybe, and then the water is pumped uphill during the day when you have power through solar energy, and then at nighttime it uses the gravity to push the water downhill to turn the generator or something. Man, I'm really fucking. I shouldn't have said anything.
No, I understand. I get what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. You can't. You're just creating a water tower, and then you can allow it to flow out through a turbine, and you can collect the energy through that, and then you just have to be able to pump it back uphill, back into your water tower or something. That is a possibility with like with something like a ram pump or something like that, and that is something that I'd like to experiment with on my piece of land, because I do have a sloping property. And so one of the concepts that I have is to dam up one of the bottom sections of the property to create a pond. And then I'm theoretically thinking that using the ram pump, I could allow the water to gravity feed downhill, and that ram pump uses a piston to create pressure, and it could send the water back uphill into a cistern or something like that. And then I could, possibly do what you're talking about, run it through a little water turbine or something like that, and generate my own power that way, it would be gravity power essentially. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty much how it works. I think I just posted a little link, and I don't know how accurate this website is, but it has a little diagram that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Right.
Which I think, yeah, you understand the concept. You just explained it all.
Yes, that is something that is definitely worth looking into, and that's something that I think Ravi and I are going to collaborate on to figure out what the best way of taking your aquaponics and being able to provide power to it so that it is resilient, and that you don't have to worry about grid down, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of money to set up a system that can keep it going.
Right. So let's see. Patient Zero in the chat here has a question about do greens really fill people up, though? No, they typically don't. Yeah. But you can grow more than just greens with aquaponics.
Yeah, you can. And one of the other things that you get as a good byproduct is you get their solid fish waste. And that solid fish waste is like one of the best fertilizers on the planet. And that can be used to go to your fruit trees, and then other things that you do as like perennials. And then the beauty of aquaponics is that you can create a continuous supply of food for year round essentially, and you can have like an assembly line type production. And so that is the beauty of it, is you get more of a rapid growth because the nutrients are all broken down and ready to be uptaken by the plants. So it's in a very usable form. Those nitrates are all broken down by your biological processes of nitrobacter in the system, and it helps to convert the ammonia, which is the pee from the fish, and into a usable form of nitrates by converting that ammonia from the nitrobacter.
Science.
Yeah, it's definitely a thinking man's way of farming. But as soon as you figure out that water chemistry and how to figure out to get your system cycled, what they call cycled, which is just getting that nitrobacter to work for you, then you're off to the races. You pretty much don't have to mess with very much after that, and you just have to watch your, water temperatures in your fish tank, and then your flow rate to make sure that you're recycling and replacing your water, which is you want to replace the entire volume of your fish tank in 1 hour. So that's how you would size your pumps, is to create a flow rate to where you're regenerating every hour. Yeah, you want to be able to replace the entire water in that fish tank. So
interesting.
So yeah,
aquaponics is something I've been looking into. I don't have any space to do it at the moment, but
yeah, so that's something that Robbie actually designed. He designed something called the Urbanite system, which is it's a smaller system that people could set up in their urban backyard. Like mine was the one that he wanted me to build it, and I am going to build it and put it a version of it in the trailer, so that I can demonstrate how to seed other aquaponics system and allow that to be my breeding system. So that's going to be all out on the Steem blockchain, and everything that I've done has been all open sourced on Steemit. And to make it into a venture in the future, I'm going to create a PDF plan for sale, so that if people want to support a lot of the open source engineering that I do, that if you could purchase the PDF plans, and that would support me in also creating more open source engineering projects and putting them out for free.
Sure. You come up with that, I'll definitely buy one. This is the same type of shit I'm definitely trying to get into here.
Yeah, and that's what I think is the best, is that people build their own systems, because you're going to gain that intimate knowledge of how the system works, so that you can be able to troubleshoot things on your own. And then, to have the correct information about the fundamentals on how the chemistry, the water chemistries and all that work, because having that, you can troubleshoot much easier instead of being in the dark on everything. But yeah, more of this better information is coming out. And it actually, if you look at Robbie Olson's Steemit page,
I'm on his page right now.
Yeah, if you could pretty much get going based on the information that he's just put out in the beginning there. So he's also releasing a couple PDF documents and trying to get him set up on the newly created Homesteaders Co-op, so that he can accept Steem as well. Trying to get him set up with his own page on there. And then and you'll be able to buy his product and help support him in what he's doing too, because he's wanting to get the good information out there, and not the crappy stuff that you find in a lot of other places on the internet. So
right.
So yeah, it'll be exciting times, especially if you're looking to seriously do worm farming. Then I think you could definitely get a good little system going there.
Yep, worm farming is like the next thing I'm doing as soon as we get the chickens going, for sure.
Yeah, that'll be really neat, man. Yeah, are you gonna do red wiggler worms, I guess?
Yep, I think so. I think that's the most popular worm for composting.
Yep. You can buy them at that'll be cool if you like document some of that in your successes and your lessons learned in there, because I don't know, but I guess I've heard that you can start off with just some red wiggler worms you could go buy down at the bait shop, and they can just propagate themselves with enough food and sustenance. So
I wonder if we have red wigglers at our bait shop.
You probably do. They pretty much, I think they pretty much sell them everywhere. You can't do the big night crawlers. They don't. They're not that good. But you want those red wiggler worms.
Let me see, because we have, like I said, we have like a pretty tiny town, and so like anything I try to find that's like even remotely weird, we don't have.
yeah. I surprised myself in the town, the city of Huntsville is where I have my little house up there, and we got a little bait shop that's like right down the road from my house, but I had no clue it was there for the longest time because it's so obscure on the street. They don't have like a very good signage or anything like that, but they are like probably the best bait shop that exists around, and they got everything. They had minnows, crickets, red wiggler worms. They had everything there.
Interesting. I don't know. Like, as far as I know, I could just get worms at Walmart. I don't know.
Yeah, you could probably do that too.
Shop. We have a fly shop, but I don't know I think they just tie flies. I don't know if they actually sell like worms and stuff.
Yeah, you probably will be able to find them locally, but if not, you can order them online and stuff. I'm pretty sure. So.
Yeah, definitely can. I've looked online about for red wiggler worms, and you can order a box of like 1,000 of them for like $40.
Yeah. The Patient Zero who posted this Trump fish? Oh yeah, Peachy. That's hilarious. So is there a specific type of design for that box that you're looking at, or like?
No, not really, not specifically yet. I'm gonna do
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly, but I'll do when I figure out the worm thing. I'll also do bees after that, I think.
Yeah, rock on. That's sweet, man. Yeah.
Trying to think all the things that I can do in this tiny little yard of mine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you might want to look at Professor Bromide on Steam It here. Then he does wild beekeeping, or he does beekeeping, but he sets it up to capture the wild swarms, and that's what he preaches, is using the wild bees because they're more resilient.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I got a local bee expert in our makerspace, and so she's told me all about bees.
Ah, very cool. So you're part of a little makerspace in town, huh?
I'm the president, actually.
No way. That's so cool, man.
Yeah, we're a nonprofit organization, and actually just about to get a new building here in probably a few months. We put up a proposal will go in on May 1st. So next month, our proposal will go in, and we should be, I'm sure we'll be approved. I don't think there's any competition for the space.
Oh man, I gotta pick your brain on how to get something like that set up, because I'd love to do that with the property that I'm doing, and maybe get it like just a little shipping container or something like that, and starting a little shop maker space in there out in the county.
Oh yeah, for sure. It basically the biggest hurdle for us was getting set up as a nonprofit for like federally. So we had to go through and like create bylaws and do all this other dumb shit and then apply. And once we got that, it was pretty easy because people are more willing to donate and stuff like that when you're a nonprofit, because they can write it off on taxes.
Yeah.
And also for you to operate as an organization, and you don't have to pay taxes on your donations and stuff like that. And our biggest challenge, so that was our biggest organizational challenge, but like our biggest actual challenge was explaining to our community what a makerspace is.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a pretty universal term, and only makes sense. It's a maker space.
Yeah.
But it doesn't exactly strike some people. They don't quite get it. So we do this thing here locally anyway. It's like a farmers market kind of thing. Except we do our farmers markets on Fridays, but on Thursday we do it's called the Thursday Street Festival, and our downtown gets closed off for like 4 or 5 blocks, and it's like a big flea market. So it's not just farmers market, but it's other stuff too. And so we set up a booth at the Thursday, the street festival every Thursday last summer, and just walked around and explained to people what a makerspace was. And we had a booth with a 3D printer going and caught a lot of people. And so that was our biggest challenge. And I think we pretty well got the word out there. A lot of people still don't know what it is, but they're like senators and city council members and all sorts of people have reached out to us to help us move forward with it. So
really,
yeah, so it's helped a lot.
That's very cool. So I got involved with the open source engineering guys, and I interviewed to do a fellowship with them for a little bit. Is Marcin Jabowski, if you're familiar with them. But that was one of my concepts actually with this trailer, is to kind of roam around and have the small scale manufacturing on board and be able to do the live demonstrations, just like you're talking about at like at conferences, and offer workshops there, and then also at little farmers markets and things like that, like you're talking about. That's
exactly what we did, and it seemed to work really well. And cool. We've kind of targeted the high school, junior high, so we've got some classes in mind for kids, like basic introductory to CAD and 3D design, and we have adult classes too. So like for the junior high kids and lower level high school kids, we use like Tinkercad, like something really simple like Tinkercad, and it's free, and it's just real basic shapes. And then for our adult class, we're like fully into like Fusion 360 or SolidWorks.
Ah, yeah, very cool. Yeah, the Fusion 360 is what I started to use with my 3D printing, and it's a great little package. It's pretty intuitive.
Yeah. And we picked it because most of us were familiar with SolidWorks, especially because I learned in college. I learned it to be used in a professional scenario, which SolidWorks is pretty much the standard professionally. But a Fusion 360 has free hobby licenses, so you can get a full copy of Fusion 360 for free without paying a dime, and there's no anything attached except for you can't sell products that you've designed in it or something.
You're supposed to be a hobbyist use, and then if you go professional with it, you start doing stuff, then you in selling it, then they ask that you buy their commercial license for the software.
Right. And so that's the reason we've come up with the Fusion 360 classes, because it's so accessible for anybody that just wants to learn to design stuff in 3D and print some shit.
Yeah. So did you get a building? Do you have a little building they operate out of and purchase?
Yeah, we have a small building, but it's so small we don't have any room for like a lot of the equipment and stuff that we have. So we're working on getting into a new building, and like I said, we're putting in that proposal on May 1st.
Wow, that's very cool. So will you be getting like a grant for it or something like that, or how's that working?
So one of the things that we're doing is we're partnering with an organization called the WTBC, which is the Wyoming Technology Business Center, and they're a business incubator that is part of the University of Wyoming, which is down in Laramie. Uh-huh. So the university spun up several of these business incubators, like, I don't know, a few years ago. And then last year they decided, we're not going to support all these incubators anymore, but we're going to keep the one at the university. So you guys can either disband or seek your own funding. And that's kind of where they're at. So the business incubator here is going to try and seek funding. Well, the state of Wyoming just passed something where they've created this business economic development council thing and they've given them a lot of money. And so the idea is they're going to grant money to certain organizations if you fit their criteria. And part of the criteria is being a business incubator and makerspace. And so since we don't have the incubator part and they don't have the makerspace part, and they're in this unique position of seeking their own funding, we need the agreement to partner with them. And so we should easily be able to get funding from them, because there are very few organizations in our state that meet that requirement. And so,
Okay.
yeah, so they're going to fill out all that paperwork and do all that stuff and get the funding, and we maintain our independence as an organization, share the space.
Oh, wow. That's very cool.
Yeah, should work out.
Yeah, so the cool thing about doing it as a nonprofit is that you can take all your money and buy more equipment with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we can. Our bylaws have the opportunity to pay people that work for us. Like, if we needed a shop hand or somebody that is like a shop manager or whatever. Because when you have lathes and mills and stuff like that, you don't necessarily want to leave them unattended all the time, especially when newer people are in there.
Yeah.
And so we might have to pay somebody to do that. And we've left it open in our bylaws. So even as a nonprofit, you can still pay workers and things like that. So.
Okay, very cool. So it could become a small little enterprise there then.
Yeah, for sure. It's just that we don't take profit, like our organization doesn't profit, which is okay.
Yeah.
All we're doing is buying more machines, more materials, and whatever. So that's the deal.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So what's the next on your list of machines to get?
So we just put in a grant request for $50,000 to get a laser cutter, a bunch of new workstations, computer workstations, and a new suite of 3D printers. Right now we have we have like 2 real basic ones, but we want to get 6 or 7 really good ones.
Okay. Yeah. What kind of, what type are you looking at?
We're looking at the Ultimaker S5s and also the Prusa i3 Mark IIIs.
Okay. As little DIY put together kits, or?
Yeah. So the idea is we want a few industrial level ones that the average person wouldn't be able to afford, because they get a chance to work with those type of printers. And then we also want some good consumer level ones, so that somebody who plans on buying one gets experience with a printer that they might be able to afford.
Beautiful. That's one thing I was gonna recommend is maybe if you guys start doing some classes and stuff, to look at what the open source engineering guys are doing, because if you guys could replicate what they're building, that's a part of their goal is to they have an open source 3D printer design, and look for people that can replicate it.
You're talking about open source ecology?
Yeah, open source ecology. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so. That's a pretty good organization, and I've been highly interested in the stuff that they've been doing for a long time. So I guarantee that that's some stuff that we will try and build as a group.
Yeah, so what Marcin could actually work with you on is becoming a collaborator with them, and then they would help you line up workshops for building, to help people build their own 3D printers and filament extruders.
Oh, awesome. So,
yeah.
And I remember the last time I looked at their website, so they had a lot of different things that they were trying to do. And I remember one was the Power Cube, and it was essentially the engine that ran the tractor, and the tractor had different attachments that ran it had a combine attachment and a buck excavator attachment and all these other things. But as far as I remember, their plans weren't either complete, or maybe they weren't open source yet or something. I remember seeing pictures, I don't remember seeing design files. Is that still the case, or do you know?
Yeah, they have a wiki page, and then all the wiki pages are their documentations for all the equipment, and they're still working on the big tools, and they have just started this making it more self-sustaining by, they were just doing donations and stuff, and now Marchin has created a fellowship program, and it's all tied into the education and doing these workshops. And so they're bringing on fellows that they're hiring and paying a salary to now, and they will be full-time developers essentially to help them build these new tools, and they're all bootstrapping it through these workshops. And
That's
so
awesome.
And so his big vision is, instead of going to get a college degree, you will come and become like an
intern.
Yeah, you'll become like an intern, and then you'll be able to go and replicate their open source shops essentially in your own location.
Little micro factories or whatever.
Your micro factory and all around the world. And so that's his vision, and he's driving toward that right now. And also, so collaborators are one of the things that they're looking for. And anybody that's doing stuff like you're doing, they'd love to get involved with to help push that idea forward.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. I'm gonna. Have you convinced them to get on Subdivision yet?
I tried to the first thing that because I applied to go do their program, but it kind of conflicted with what I was doing with my own business and the trailer, and so I decided to become a collaborator with them and start to work towards once I finish the trailer, to actually start to collaborate and work with hosting workshops with them and replicating their open source designs. And so I'll get if you want to give me your email or something, then I can forward you to Marchin and get you in touch with him directly.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. I remember looking at all their stuff and was super impressed. I think the one thing I remember they did have finished was like the brick press, right? Did they?
Yeah, the CE brick press. They produce that on a pretty regular schedule now, I believe.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Is there places in Africa and the Middle East and stuff like that where they use? That's a huge deal for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the whole project is just it's an amazing project, and one of the things that Marchin's the visionary of the whole thing, and for a long time he was just focusing on the kind of the tech stuff and kind of getting into the weeds with that, but now he's like kind of having a more holistic idea about all this, and like integrating self-development with the technology and trying to make it more of a business venture. They're still like a kind of a nonprofit organization, but he's looking into making it as a growing and profitable thing, so that they can just invest more time into developing all those tools and to spread the love around.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's genius. Yeah, open source ecology is in my opinion, one of the better groups out there doing stuff like this.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're looking at, I think that's a shift that we're going through as a society as well, is that if you adopt that open source ethos, especially with hardware, you can start creating things for much cheaper costs and be able to innovate faster, because you have so many more people with eyes and brains to solve problems on it. So,
have you ever heard of the Maslow CNC?
I have one. I'm going to be putting that together. Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, I have one as well in my garage. But
how do you like it?
Oh, it's great. I'm able to get like up to like probably a 64th accuracy.
Wow, you got it dialed in.
Yeah, pretty dialed in. I've got my frame is a little bit different than theirs. I I built the frame that they recommend.
Yeah.
But then after operating it for a while and we moved, I decided that I had a better idea for a frame. And so I mounted mine to the wall, and it hangs flat against the wall. And then I swing it out and prop it up to get the right angle when I'm ready to use it. So it takes up literally almost all.
Whoa, very cool. Very cool. I got to talk to you about that, man, because I haven't put mine together yet. So I might be picking your brain.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool machine. I have a lot of fun with it. So I assume you've heard of WikiHouse then.
No, I haven't heard of that yet. No.
Oh wow. Hold on, I'm trying to drop a link in here.
Are they trying to use? Yeah, I see. Oh, okay. Wow. So they're trying to use the cut out parts from the Maslow, I guess, to assemble a house.
Yeah, or just any CNC router. Essentially, you put plywood in and you get hammer together house parts out. Now, these guys have hurricane tested a lot of their shit, and it doesn't come apart.
Wow, this is awesome. Yeah, so this is what I'm seeing, and the, like they say, the revolution won't be televised, and this is a part of the show, is to try to inspire people that a lot of these solutions are out there. And this stuff is happening, and one day we might just wake up and it would be totally off grid and living totally different lives of abundance.
Totally possible. Yeah, definitely. And the cool thing about WikiHouse is the only tools used to put this house together, or the only tools needed to put these houses together, is a hammer.
No
That's
kidding.
It. There's no screws or anything used, like traditional Japanese methodology of lap joints and stuff like that, and wedges. Yeah. So they do that, and they actually have even a design for a mallet from plywood. So it's like however many stacks or whatever. So you can cut out the mallet and then use put it all together.
Wow.
It's super cool. And
this is revolutionary, man.
Yeah, it's super cool. And what they aim to do is, what they're creating more than like house designs is they're creating a design language. So they're more so designing like joint types, and like they're designing how things go together, and then you get to build the house from that. Design the house in 3D and then print it out, you know.
Yeah, this type of joinery, when you don't have any fasteners or anything, you don't have any additional stress concentrations. So, yeah, it could be a very long-lasting and very quality thing.
Even if you just used it to make a shed in your backyard, you know?
Right? Yeah, and not needing very many tools.
The chicken coop. That's what I should have did.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of something that I've talked with Agrode on the show. Actually, we were talking about how we could do like aircrete sheds or something and bring the costs down. But now I'm thinking like maybe Maslow and then you take that on the trailer, and you just have a crew, like a small crew could go out, and they could actually like create structures on the fly.
Yeah, aircrete's super cool too. I think that this whole thing is showing people that, you know, we have the ability. Like, technology's advanced so far that, I mean, I have a Maslow in my garage. It was like $500 total after I built it, and now I can fucking download a house.
Yeah, it's so powerful. This is awesome. Yeah, Codex, we're coming up on the end of the show, but man, I super appreciate you coming on the show. And man, if you ever want to come on and guest host sometime or something like that, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, no problem. I could talk forever about this shit.
Me too. It's my passion, and it's it's something that I want to really inspire to people to take it within their own power and gain the knowledge and and actually have personal responsibility to become self-reliant and fully embrace our freedom. So,
I think I can't believe it. My show should have been about something like this rather than hip hop, because I love hip hop, but I can't talk all day about it.
Yeah. So, man, you're welcome to come on anytime and guest host if you're available every Saturday. And great having you on, and thank you for your time. And if you wanted to leave anybody with any final thoughts, then go for it. And we got Crimson Clad with Steamwave Saturday coming right up. So thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
All right, have fun, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You bet, Codex. Thank you, brother. And looking forward to staying in touch and collaborating with you on some stuff.
For sure.
Awesome. So thanks again, everybody, and look forward to next week's show. And we will catch you guys on the flip-flop. Peace. Let's see. Let me see here. We'll probably have Krim coming in, but let me play my outro music. Awake by Devon and Junk Feathers here. So we're not, there's no dead air here. So, all right. Peace, everybody.